Guys, right behind me is 420 Clinton Court. It is the most haunted spot in America. For over 100 years, there's been thousands of documented cases of blood-curdling horror that goes on behind that gate. And I'm gonna break it down for you right now. This beautiful tree-lined street is West 46th Street in Hell's Kitchen, New York. Home to thousands of people just chilling, relaxing in their brownstone. There's a barber shop. Sylvester Stallone was born on this very street. Well, right here is something that's very, very scary. Guys, I'm getting ready to show you 4 of the most haunted spots in all of America, and they're all on the same block, all within a block of each other. There has been horrible things that have happened in this location, and unfortunately spirits still linger and cry out, and you are going to be shocked and amazed. Guys, I'm going to try my best to walk you through what went down. This courtyard in the back there was once a horse stable. What you might not know is that this is built on a potter's field, which is thousands of graves of unmarked, indigent, poor people from the 1800s that were buried back there. This used to be a graveyard. Okay, with that said, 150 years ago, they hung a sea captain by the name of Old Moore right back down that alley. Now, his ghost is said to still haunt the residents who live here 100 years later. Also, at least 3 women have fallen to their deaths down the stairs and broken their necks in that back alley. Women have fallen off the roof. A woman was hung. There has been death after death behind those gates. Now look, right here, less than 100 feet away, there is a park right here. Now this park is very famous because of a couple reasons. One, it was in West Side Story, but most important, it was the site of one of the most horrific killings in New York history, when young men from the group or the gang called the Vampires came in here with knives and sharpened umbrellas. They were a gang of Puerto Rican kids called the Vampires, and they were out for revenge against the Irish kids who lived here in Hell's Kitchen. Well, one day right here at Matthews Palmer's playground, they caught the boys and they stabbed them, unaliving them both. One of the young killers was only 16 years old, and even though he was a child, he was given the death sentence, which was overturned by Rockefeller. Is it a coincidence that these horrific murders and these hauntings took place less than 100 feet away from Clinton Court, also on the same place as this old Potter's Field burial ground? But I'm not done. I just showed you one of the most haunted places in America. Let me show you another, and it's literally on the same block, but it's down 2 streets. This is the Landmark Tavern. The Landmark Tavern is one of the most haunted places in all of New York. I'm not a big ghost person, so if I'm telling you, you can Google it. The first ghost we're going to discuss is Travis Martin. Travis Martin was a Confederate soldier who was knifed in the Landmark Tavern. Here is the story. Travis Martin came back from the war, and he was in love with Matilda Hathaway. They were to be married, but unfortunately on June 11th, 1868, Edward Duckworth married Matilda Hathaway, and Travis was absolutely stunned. He was so upset, he went out for drinks. He got belligerent, drunker than usual. He was uncharacteristically drunk, and he was quiet that evening, just muttering her name over and over and over, Matilda, Matilda, Matilda. He knocked back shot after shot of whiskey. He spun around, let out a yell using the foulest language he could curse, and he got the biggest, toughest guy in the bar and started cursing him. A fight between the two men ensued. Travis reached into his boot, brought out his Bowie knife. His plug-ugly opponent whipped out his weapon of choice, and it was on. The two men brawled across the bar, smashing the back room. They ended up fighting back in a stairway. Travis' gut was slashed open. It was a fatal wound. With blood gushing from his savage gash, he left parts of his intestines hanging out. Travis crawled up the staircase. He let out a ghoulish laugh as he crashed through the door and ended up in a bathtub where he bled out. The bathtub where he spent his last breath is still there to this day, and if you go to eat, they'll take you up and show it to you. The second ghost we're talking about that still haunts this place today is that of a 9-year-old girl by the name of Mary Moyhan. Her father brought her here from Ireland to escape the potato famine. They were on the boat for about a month before they got here. Unfortunately, Mary got very, very sick with what they believe was cholera. She ended up with her dad renting a small room on the top floor, and she got very, very ill. She didn't eat for weeks. Finally, the family let her come down to the second floor where they surrounded her with love, and unfortunately, she passed. The child and the sounds of a child still echo throughout the building over 100 years later. It's been witnessed by dozens and dozens of different employees and guests over the years. The last ghost is the most famous. That's because it belongs to a famous actor by the name of George Raft. George Raft was a tough guy, born and raised in Hell's Kitchen. You've seen him in movies with James Cagney, always played the tough guy, and that was his spot right at the end of the bar. In November 1980, the bartender was closing up, and he went to lock the door. The place was empty. He turned around. There's an old man standing in the back, and he says to the man, "Sorry, sir, we're closing." The old man looked bewildered, didn't move, didn't answer him. The old man just kind of stood there. The bartender turned to unlock the door to let him out, turned around, the man was gone. The man was gone. It was the exact moment when George Raft died in California across the United States. He came back one last time to see his beloved bar. Now I'm going to take you inside and show you the bar itself. Guys, this is the haunting spot of 3 very famous ghosts. The first one, Travis Martin, was the Confederate soldier who got into a horrible fight here, was stabbed, fought, knocked almost everything over that he could on his way up these stairs. The stairs are here in the back. He was horribly maimed. He staggered and crawled up the stairs and ended up at the top in the bathtub, which is still there. The second young ghost is the child Mary Moyhan, and she passed from cholera. Her little voice can still be heard throughout the building on certain nights. And of course, the last one, George Raft, who was a famous movie star from Hell's Kitchen, who made a home at this bar. On the night he died in California, his ghost appeared to the bartender. This is a very, very serious place. Show respect if you decide to come. Guys, I'm not just making a video, and I'm not a big ghost person, but I'm telling you, when you've had thousands of people over decades and decades corroborating the stories, it's true. Now, I'm getting ready to show you probably the worst part of this whole video as far as deaths are concerned. Right now I'm on 11th Avenue in Hell's Kitchen. This is the west side. Any more west, you're going to be in the Hudson River. But right on the other side of this little fence right here is 11th Avenue. And that for 100 years was called Death Avenue. Over 500 people were killed right on the other side of this fence. 1,500 horribly maimed. Why? Because this avenue used to be trains going through New York City. Before the subways were underground, you had trains, and people would get hit on a daily basis. It got so bad that they hired what was called the New York City Cowboys, the train cowboys. It was a gruesome avenue called Death Avenue. These cowboys would actually ride their horses in front of the trains, getting people out of the way. And this did curb the death and destruction, but too little too late. Thousands of people maimed, 500 killed. This is a very haunted neighborhood. If you come to Hell's Kitchen, show respect. Whether you believe in the occult or the afterlife, or you think ghost stories are all stupid, I'm telling you, they're real. God bless you. Be good.